Welcome, everybody. Today is the 6th of February. We're online for Dallas Personal Robotics Group, and we'll do the usual going around the table. We have a good audience here tonight already, participants all ready to go. I'm just going to show a few slides since we have actually something to show. We do have some volunteer opportunities coming up. Unfortunately, while the 3rd is passed, the 10th overlaps with our election meeting this coming Saturday, but the 24th, I think, is kind of open, and there are at least one club member. I think Paul put a challenge out to volunteer. So anybody wants to volunteer, that's wide open still, I think. Then other calendar items.
I need to step in here.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry I'm late. So this is embarrassing, and I have to apologize because I've been asking y'all to help out with judging. It has been determined that we are too affiliated with DPRG that it will become a conflict of interest if judges from DPRG show up.
Oh, really?
And what that's gonna mean is that none of you can speak up at all if about anything that you know about us, our program, our robot, anything. And basically would like disqualify us from advancing due to the updated conflict of interest rules and the fact that because it's because we've you know 5 times I think this season we've presented to y'all.
Yeah, what?
Something like that. And yeah,
that really sucks.
It really sucks. And I really hate the fact that that I asked you all to step up, and all of a sudden there was an actual surge to do so, or it looked like it. So they basically it's weird because we're also really down on judges, so they're actually asking us to provide one conflict of interest judge per program. It's very, very strange. But that person will still also be excluded from speaking up in favor of us, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people were finally decided on going. So, Mike showed up beautifully this last Saturday, and unfortunately I was like super busy trying to help one of my teams that was having major problems, and I wasn't able to talk with him as much as possible. But he was there showing interest, not as a judge yet, but yeah, it's a sad thing, and I apologize for getting you guys interested in it.
Yeah,
it would. Sorry,
sounds
go ahead.
like Kareem that I need to send out a mail to the group saying, "Hey, never mind about that judging opportunity. We're not going to do it as a group. If you want to go as an individual, that's up to you. But you can't speak in favor of Iron Rain." Mm-hmm. Is that what should be said?
Yeah, that's pretty much what should be said. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer.
It is.
I'm sorry to hear that. I was looking forward to getting together with because it was really a blast that when I did it last year. It was so energizing. You know, all those young kids that are just like really super into it, and the level of intensity was just really, really amazing, and it was wonderful to see. And so I'm really disappointed to hear that.
Yeah, I agree. This hasn't really been a problem in the past because normally it's the tournament that we host and we don't compete at that tournament, right? So and so there's never been a big conflict of interest, and usually it's fewer, if anybody, who actually show up for the regional championship. But we did advance this Saturday to the area championship, and it would become a conflict of interest to yeah, have you all wah.
Yeah, we can only do what we can do. So we're I think Sorry it didn't work out, but well,
It was a great thing to go see. I would recommend anyone to go.
Absolutely, and yeah, anybody can attend. The problem is, so again, the first best thing that you guys can do normally is, and I guess if I had brought it up earlier in the season, it would have been just fine, because there were 6 different tournaments before this last set, and we're not actually competing this Saturday, so we're hosting this Saturday. But again, that's a conflict with your annual meeting. So yeah, it's become a late breaking issue, and it is a great thing. It is a great thing to see as a DPRG member, and to participate in, but it's just too late this season to not have consequences in the judging.
Well, thanks for letting us know, Kareem.
Yeah.
So, are they really going to know that we're from DPRG? You know,
it's up to y'all to declare your affiliations, and we do not condone. Yeah, I'm not gonna speak about it. It's not always the case that all teams are necessarily completely up and up on about it, but we do not condone that. And I've never understood the rationale for it either, because if you do have people that are sort of rooting for you, then it's clear that those opinions should be discounted.
Okay, so as just a participant or not a participant, but someone that's there, I can't root for them, or?
Oh no, you absolutely can as a right. I mean, you can't actually see what's happening in the judging rooms,
Right.
if you're not a judge, but everybody is welcome to go and what do you spectate? I guess. Absolutely. Yeah, that's completely open.
Yeah, well, we should show up with our DPRG shirts.
we need a cheerleading section.
I think Ray volunteered for bringing pom poms.
All right, who's got the short shorts?
You don't want to see that.
yeah,
No,
that for sure is a way to get kicked out.
that's right. Things
Conflict of something. Okay. Well, actually, so this slide was relatively useful then. All right, good.
Man, I tell you.
hopefully next year we can fix it and just talk about it earlier. And there were 6 different ones, so 5 of them we weren't involved in at all, and those would have been great experiences for DPRG members to get involved.
Yeah, well, do let us know, Kareem, because
Sure.
This next year, I think Doug expressed it well, is going to be recovering fully. DPRG recovers fully from COVID.
Oh yeah, cool.
And so I think we'll hopefully be able to be more involved than we were, particularly during the COVID years.
That'd be great.
All right. Other things on the upcoming are that we have the annual voting meeting this coming Saturday. So if you're a registered member, please do vote in person or via proxy. We have a certain quorum to make, and well, it's good to have everybody's voice weighed in. Then we do have Roborama planned for this spring.
Let me just add something to the election note. So I sent out a ballot to everybody, to all the members who are listed on the website. There's still time, if you're not a member, to join or re-up. And if you do, please drop me a note or Doug a note, so we can make sure and get you a ballot, because only members are entitled to vote. It's one of the privileges of membership, and so make sure that Doug or I are in the loop if you do join before this Saturday, if you're going to be proxy voting and not voting in person. And so in addition to that, I just want to make let you all know that the bylaws require that we have a quorum to have a valid vote of 30% of current members. So the ballots that I sent out to the members we need to get 30% between those that are responded to by proxy and those people who respond in person. So you really help us if you support that activity of getting a vote in.
If we have 1,500 people, it means we have to have 500?
That would be Dallas Makerspace.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly why the Makerspace has some clever plan around this. So they have a difference between supporting members and regular members. And each year you have to declare if you're going to be a regular member, and only regular members can vote. So it's actually just a subset of that 1,500 that they need to make a quorum that are able to vote. And it's only a certain fraction of those that they have to meet quorum.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an interesting plan. So they've got a whole system to manage that at the Makerspace.
And speaking of members, I want to welcome DPRG's newest member, John Islands. Thank you for joining, John. We appreciate your support and look forward to your involvement.
Remotely.
Yep.
It's awesome.
I'm a long way from Dallas.
Well, quite a few people on this call are a long way from Dallas. Pat, Tom.
Yeah, and then occasionally we get some other cities as well, Connecticut and. Okay, so we have these. We have the Roborama coming. That's more or less confirmed with these dates. Practice session on the 27th, competition on the 11th. We've got these contests notionally penciled in. This is kind of a joke because it seemed like a progression here: 4, 5, 6. We need a 7, but we don't have a 7 contest. But and then I don't know, Paul. I haven't gotten to look at the agenda you've got started for this coming up Saturday yet. But one of the things that's surfaced in several groups here is how to restart in-person meetings, and it seems like there's a kind of gravity around the idea that the Tuesday sessions continue as they have, since there's such a nice facilitated interaction that we've got here, and they help with remote, and they lower the bar to have a nice presentation, so we can have everything from short presentations to long ones, and then the idea, it seems to be on the table, is to use the Saturday sessions maybe aligned with open house at the Dallas Makerspace, but that'd be more of a once a month run, get together and run a robots in person. And there's something to bring up. I don't know about tonight or maybe better on Saturday, Paul, but there's at least one conflict we got room conflicts and time conflicts. And it sounds like we could avoid those if we move from the second Saturday to the third or fourth or first or something. So,
Yeah.
So and that is something that I thought I'd bring up at the Saturday meeting, but I think it's good to bring it up here too, because we get a different group of members at this meeting than probably will be at the Saturday meeting. So we can take all kinds of input, but the point that you brought up, that there's a potential of changing the date that we meet on in person, and or the time, TBD. But I think that one of the privileges of membership in this club is that you get to make decisions on how the club should be run. And so I think that something of this nature is something that we would solicit the members of the club, their input on. And it's not to say that we can satisfy everybody, but I think I see it as we need to allow the members to speak.
So I'll bring up on that note sort of two things. A, the other year I had mentioned that idea that, we should have at least once a month meeting type thing. I think that's a good idea. I personally would say half and half, like every other week, have a Tuesday night thing and then, a meeting. Now, whether or not we want, meet in person 2 times. And I'm even going to throw out even another idea I have, which is that, there's that makerspace over in Richardson. So I know in the case of Brady, in that one thread I saw, he commented about how he was teaching 2 courses type thing. So we might even want to, in the far future that might have, like one Saturday or meeting at the one place and then, the one meeting at the other place type thing.
That's interesting.
So, okay, because Richardson would be closer to some people than, over here. In my case, I would say over here because I'm 5 miles from the place. But I did go over to Richardson to see whatever pie thing that they had when they were showing off the 5. And, that place for a meeting room will work. It's, it's not really a gear with a lot of open space for running robots per se, was sort of my general impression. And also, speaking of meeting places, I did look at the room, and they do have what I thought, which is basically a 30-inch type monitor on wheels. So they don't really have a big screen on wall thing. So that's one other thing. And then realize that they right now have their show the place thing on like 10 o'clock. But I heard a little bit top that they have problem finding people to show the place. So they were toying with a little bit about moving the date even on that as a FYI.
You mean the date of their open house? Is it? Okay.
So they may not be cast in stone is what I'm telling you, or else unless we volunteer to say, hey, we'll show you the place type thing. Because, like most organizations, they seem to have sometimes volunteers, lack of volunteers problem.
That's an interesting idea. Thanks, John.
But anyway, I did want to throw out the idea, like, that, especially in the far future, not necessarily hinge on just the one makerspace type thing when we do get together. I could see benefits, in the sense that you cover more of the town effectively in more area by doing that. So, but as I said, we can throw out more ideas as we get wherever.
But I'm making a note of that, John, and I think it's an interesting idea. And if other people have other ideas they want to pitch in, then feel free to throw it out, because I think we're at a point of asking, what do the members want from the club?
One of the things that I think that I would want to make sure everybody knows that we will have some sort of remote access to any meetings that we have on Saturday or whatever, so the remote members can join. I don't know if we'll have Doug's, what was it, a telepresence robot, but we'll have at least a static display and a couple of cameras where maybe you can change screen, like who's ever in the front of the room, or if you want to see who's sneaking out, you will have one pointed somewhere else. So anyway, that just makes sure that everybody knows that right up front. So
we could invest in helmet cams, Helmet with a camera. With a...
Well, actually, Ray, that's really not that bad of not that crazy of an idea.
Actually, not. Because
You
you
know,
realize
so it'd be interesting to see how to implement it. You know.
You know, you can
It'd
get
be-
glasses now where you have your information on your glasses. So, yeah, I can see where you throw a camera on top of your glass.
I'm just talking about what would even be cooler, Ray, if you were doing images, you know, if like when it would say pan across Ray, a little bubble over your head would say, you know, Ray Kessler, health points 557, you know, and whatever your royal mage or whatever your character is. So anyway, I'm just saying, really, you could do that with very little AI. You know, I mean, that would just be face recognition, and it's not like we have a cast of millions. It'd be an interesting project.
Let me ask the group that's assembled here, because I have my own strong opinions on this, but I want to hear what other people think about participating in mixed video and in-person meetings. Any reactions to what it's like to participate from your perspective, to be a participant either as a video attendee or an in-person attendee in one of these mixed media or mixed mode meetings?
I can tell you right now, the people on the video or the other side that aren't physically present in the room are not going to get, well, I could be real nasty about it, but I'll do this, will not be as engaged as they probably want to be.
Yeah. I would tend to
personally
agree
have
with
been
Carol.
in many of those.
What now?
I personally have been in many of these mixed meeting kind of events. At my work, we often meet with people that are assembled in a conference room, plus global attendees dialing in from all over. The one thing that is always very difficult is making sure that everyone in the room is speaking at a volume or close enough to a mic that they can be heard by everyone. And often they will tend to refer to things that only people in the room can see or understand.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem with that kind of format. So,
and at some point they check out because they can't get all the stuff they need to get.
That's right. Yeah.
I've had involvement with several organizations that do hybrid meetings. I mentioned this in the chat a few minutes ago. And it all depends a lot upon the facilities that are available at the in-person meeting site and upon the person who is going to be MC for the particular meeting. A few reminders and a wireless mic make a huge difference in terms of ensuring those who are presenting or discussing remain aware that there are video attendees as well. And once somebody gently reminds them until they get used to it, my experience with both robotics and other meeting types is that it works out very, very well. Certainly far better than not being present at all.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, what did you, I didn't quite understand about the mic. What are you saying? Who's mic'd up?
The example that I'm using is the Connecticut Robotics Group. They have been holding hybrid meetings for quite a while, and they work well. Anyone who is doing a presentation or participating in a discussion is simply handed the wireless mic and told to look at the camera.
So you only have one yeah. So
now
only one wireless mic in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And it's I'm not sure whether it is part of the facility they're using, which is a museum in Connecticut, or whether the person who's running the meeting owns it and brings it with him each time. The other big difference is that there's a really big wall-mounted flat screen in the meeting room on which video attendee stuff, the Zoom stuff, is presented. And that helps a whole lot as well. Intelligent management of how that screen is used so that not only can the remote attendees see what's being presented, but when the presenter is facing the camera, the people in the room can also see the same thing. It makes a big difference and it really works well. I've had several different organization meetings that work the same way.
Mhm.
My wife routinely runs her watercolor class as a hybrid meeting every week, with facilities provided at the community center they use. And same deal, a little bit of attention to the camera and the microphone, and make effective use of the really big wall-mounted screen. If you haven't got the screen, it's not going to work nearly as well. So it depends on the facility.
There's some big monitors at the makerspace. I mean, what are they, like 75-inch at least or so?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'd like to ask, I think, both Ted and Pat, because, we've had indoor and outdoor competitions in the last couple of years. And I know we've tried locally to make it as engaging as possible. And we didn't really have a mic. We had more like pass the phone, but I know we fell down on the job a lot. But I would just ask, so Pat and Ted, from your perspectives, any thoughts on this?
I've been watching the Robo Columbus competition several times live. I find that you guys have done a fairly good job of presenting during the competition of what's going on. I find it requires a lot of effort on your part to make sure that we're not left out as you're presenting. I know the Robo Columbus is a tough spot because of cellular communications and other problems that occur there occasionally. But overall, it's been good. And then the Dallas Makerspace as well. When you guys did the Roborama competition in the spring, it has been excellent as well, with somebody making an effort to make sure that we're in the loop on what's going on, because frequently there's conversations off in the distance that we can't hear.
And I would agree that the indoor competition was done very well. I enjoyed watching it. I haven't been able to watch the outdoor competition live. So I don't know about that, but I did get a lot out of the just the recordings you guys posted. So that was cool.
Cool. If I get a say on the meetings, I would really like to continue the Tuesday night meetings or the virtual meetings. And then if possible, with the addition of the monthly Saturday meeting or twice a week meeting, whatever, on the Saturday.
Me too.
It's this remote meeting has so much helped us that are, distanced away from people. And, we get a lot of valuable input on what we're doing and, suggestions, advice. It's really helpful. And even just the encouragement.
Thank you, Pat and Ted. That is so valuable to hear from our members about what works and what doesn't, because this mixed mode is. My experience has been more along the lines of what Steve and Harold said, that it's been simply awful in both local and remote. But Tom, you brought some really interesting points to the table about where it seems to be working, and I might touch base with you offline and see if I can attend one of these Connecticut meetings and see how it's done and get your perspective that maybe will give me not quite such a negative
Sure. Be happy
attitude towards it. Okay, I'll touch base with you offline on that. Thank you.
And Paul, just to clarify, my feedback was many to many, right? Where you have many people in the room and many people online, and we're trying to have a conversation. That's more like Bedlam on those kind of formats. The one to many, where someone's presenting in a room and people are remotely listening, that can be pretty good if they're mic'd up and you have the audio, and the meeting piped through correctly. So,
thanks for the clarification, Steve. That's a real good point. I got that.
I would say that whatever we do, we'll probably wind up discovering that we went to modify as we go and figure out what parts works and not. because over the last 3 years I've been doing a lot more remote working, and it's sort of interesting what does work and what doesn't, and some of it requires planning ahead, some of it requires effectively a good, I'll use the term now because we're heavily into it now, a scrum master that can sort of run the show and guide the group. So there's a combination of variables. If you do that Philadelphia thing, if you can post that, I don't know if it's the Kinetic, Kinetic one, if they can, it might be interesting, to the attendant and see how they are doing it, get feedback. Because the key is what you really want in a Scrum system is you do a little bit, modify, and take off what you can chew and not more than you can chew at a given time. Is part of how you get success out of it.
Let me throw out another idea. Another approach is to simply hold 2 meetings, one of them virtual and one of them in person. What do you think about that?
Well, originally my idea was that back the other year I sort of said, hey, let's do it. 1 week would be virtual, 1 not type thing. But, I don't know if you want to meet every day anywhere. So that's why I was saying that at the time, that you could get too many meetings going on and overload. But, that's up to you all in that regard.
Yeah.
2 times the commitment from the organizers, and
right.
You're also going to have fragmented conversations, right?
They're trade-off with everything. So that's why I was saying we're going to have to play it by ear on some and then adjust accordingly.
Then you have a mini telephone game because, what was said in one meeting, not said in the other. And you can record it and replay those recordings, but then you can't, like, if somebody needs clarification about what somebody said in the other meeting and that kind of stuff, that person may or may not be there to clarify. So it's, I'm not bagging on it. I'm just saying I played the telephone game a lot. Unfortunately,
and some of it would be like workshop / versus.
Right.
I'm
pointing out potential problems. I don't even know that.
I've just put a proposal in the chat that I think at least I've tried to use in the contest, and the model that I propose is that if for the hybrid meetings that like we just define not a scribe, but a local voice of the virtual participant person that's on site. And they can think of him like a sportscaster who can sit near the monitor with the microphone for the virtual folks. And they can relay questions if they don't carry across the speakers. And then they can also kind of like describe what's going on when it's not obvious from the camera. So kind of like a sports camera, a sportscaster on the one hand, but then also a representative in the other direction.
Yeah, being virtual, I really like that idea. That would be great.
Good job for ex-presidents.
I'm just saying it's a role. If somebody happens to do it more often than others, that's no problem. But it's important to have the role, I think, because it's the role, not the person for the club. My way of thinking.
Did I just hear another version of the phrase "smelt it, dealt it"? Did I hear that?
I agree. I was waiting to chime in on that same thing. That's how it works in my other club my Miata club. The remote people are there kind of listening, but they don't really voice participate because that would be interrupting, like Steve said. But at one point, somebody will say, "Oh, well, look, these remote people want to talk about this," and you chime in as the moderator.
I think that would be a good start to see how it would work out, and a good test if you could designate somebody in that role like you posted, Carl.
Just several other groups that I belong to. Vancouver has been doing virtual for a while. They discussed doing in-person meetings and have elected not to. They're going to stay just virtual.
Wow.
I was part of a Seattle Robotics Society discussion that was talking about whether to set up in-person meetings or hybrid meetings. They discussed hybrid for a while. They were thinking about in-person, but I note from their events calendar, they are still strictly virtual. The Ottawa Club is still virtual. every 2 weeks. And there are what I would call informal in-person meetings that are being set up periodically by groups with a special interest. So 3 or 4 people will get together on a Sunday afternoon at a local bar and discuss robots.
Oh yeah, at a bar. I wonder what you're doing at a bar.
So
Hey,
that's
Tom,
our in-person meeting.
can you send me the info on the Ottawa meeting?
I will post the link to their website.
This
Yeah,
is
I
getting
have a
more talk than our PID discussions.
Holy Moses. Yeah.
I propose an in-person at the bar robot meeting in Dallas now.
I like that.
Yeah, well, Steve, there was a time we used to have, they called it, I don't know what it was. It was essentially everybody would meet for lunch because people worked.
The robot power lunch, wasn't it?
Something like that, and they would always pick some restaurant that probably was a little different from what most people would go to. So you wouldn't go to I don't know. You'd end up going to some artsy-fartsy type restaurant eating, kale salads and stuff. But it was a lot of fun, and or it went the other way. We'd go to Babes. It was just you never knew exactly where you were going to go, and it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like fun.
Well, way back in ancient history, we used to meet at Collin Creek once a week, but that mall is no more.
Yeah.
These are great ideas, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, how's that for just a couple of slides of housekeeping, and we covered a lot of really positive ground, I think, huh?
It's fantastic, and it is an example of the two meeting format, in a sense, in that we're all virtual and we can, just to play the other side of the two meeting format, because I do hear the negative sides of it, but on the other hand, everyone's on an equal footing here, and you get like an opportunity to get more input, and it's maybe not the decision making. It's not a decision making forum, but it's an idea collection forum.
Yeah. Yep.
And facilitate discussion. So yeah.
Yeah. So thanks very much for that input. I like the meet at a bar idea.
Yeah. There may have to be a session or two like that.
Just stay away from Northwest.
Great ideas out of it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think, we have so far the queue. Let's just see if anyone else would like to add, and then we can get started with that part. We have Mike, Ray, Don, Steve, and then open mic. Would anyone else like to add to the queue before we dig in?
Oh, I have something I want to. I learned about something this week that it's just a little hardware thing, and I just thought I would share that with people.
Put you after Steve. Okay. Anyone else?
I got a question.
All right. We got Harold.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think we have a healthy queue to follow on to our healthy start. And at this point, I'll put the queue that we have in chat and pass the baton, Mike. The floor is yours. What you got?
Okay. I have some sensors I worked on, OpenMV sensors and some time of flight sensors, like the array sensors of time of flight. I'm going to try to display it. Let me see.
Oh, please. I need some water too.
What vegetable?
Okay, guys, I'm gonna mute some of you. Just so be careful to unmute yourself if you want to talk.
Okay, so I can't see y'all anymore, but can you see my screen?
Looks good.
Yeah. Okay, so So right here, I have the time of flight camera, and I have a blob detection and a can. And down here, I have the time of flight, which is an 8x24, which is actually three 8x8s combined together into a wider field. So you can sort of see the can right here is that showing up here.
That's cool.
Like the 5s is like further away than the 2s. So, and it's a logarithmic thing. So the 5s are probably seeing these buckets back here. And then I'm going to turn my joystick on. So if I move then you can sort of see that it does a pretty good job. And I'm not really great at turning, but one thing I noticed is, and maybe Ray has some input on this, and that is, let me get closer to the can. Boy. I noticed that when I try to go straight onto the can, the blob, like I put these purple or pink lines, whatever the color that is, sort of splitting up the screen in 4 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I'm ignoring anything in the upper section because it's not of interest.
Right.
And I noticed that it won't detect a blob as a continuous blob between both sides of that middle line.
Oh, that is weird.
Oh.
So
Mike, what's the relationship between the blob detector and the time of flight sensor in terms of how their data is used together?
Well, it's not used together right now. It's just 2 separate data streams. Like over here, I have the blob information I'm going to send to the ROS code, which is the X and the Y and sort of the magnitude of how good of an image it is. And so you can see that when I move, it switches from a plus number to a minus number because it goes on the negative side of the line. And then down here is the time of flight, and there's a lot of scatter from the ground that sort of shows up.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure how to deal with it. One thing is, so you can see the can right here is these numbers here, which right here is a center here. I put some markers down here, and so the can went over there. And if I move the can the other direction, you can see that those 3 numbers move.
Yeah. Have you tried to get rid of the crosshairs to see if it still does that? Or shifts
they're just
to
drawn
one side
onto
or
the
the other?
image. They're just drawn over the image.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
What
Mike,
is
I
your-
don't know what's doing that.
Are your
What is
pink
your field of
crosshairs
view?
drawn before the blob detection?
Pardon?
Are the pink crosshairs drawn before the blob detection? Where you've got the image divided in quarters with the pink lines?
Right. Yeah, that could throw it off.
See, where's the...
I was trying to see it in your code.
Looks like I'm
You're
drawing those lines before the blob detection.
How about you try drawing them after the blob detection?
It shouldn't
definitely
matter
looked like it
because
was
that's just
interacting with it,
drawing
that's for sure.
on the screen. It's not. It has nothing to do with the values he's getting back from the camera. At least it
Well,
shouldn't.
it might
Well,
be
if
image.
he's analyzing
Image
that
draw
image,
though is it's going to draw it on that image.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're doing the fine blobs. Oh, that's why. You're doing the fine blobs on the image after you've drawn the crosshairs.
yeah,
So, yeah.
so it's interrupting his blob.
Yeah.
Let's try it. Okay. Oops, wrong way.
So where?
Hey, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Ah, I thought they were just on the vision on what I see, but okay.
See what helps both meetings are good for?
Yeah. So now you can see that the can is precisely centered, and then the time of flight values here are precisely centered. And then when I go further away, or if I back up some, oops, using the wrong controls there. Yeah, so you can see that now I'm further away from it because I backed up. That's a 4. So I'm trying to figure out, like this down here is perfect for obstacle avoidances, but I'm trying to figure out if I can use that for distance measurement of this.
The problem with the blob stuff is that it's color based, right? You set in thresholds for the color, and if your obstacle's a different color, then it's not going to see it as a blob.
Right. Well, the blob is basically to detect those orange cans in the field.
Yeah.
And over here is colorblind.
Yeah.
Which is my time of flight.
But the blob doesn't have to be a color blob, right? You can segment based on other numerical values, I believe. Right?
Oh, I could, but yeah.
It has a lot. I mean, OpenMV has a lot of capabilities to do all kinds of different things. Color blob tracking is just one of them.
Yeah, like the line tracking is pretty cool. You can do an outline of this whole thing, like
edge detect.
Edge detect, yeah. And I was thinking maybe I could use the edge detect to detect the edges of the course. Oh well, but I'm just trying to focus on this. I was hoping today I could get some navigation code that would drive to the can here, but I didn't get that far.
Can you use your area of your rectangle in your blob to determine how far away the can is?
I could, but check this out. I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of using the Y number, which is basically when I.
Yeah, that's effectively the same thing.
So, yeah. So
when I back up, it gets further up on the screen.
Yeah.
And smaller.
And so that would be a sort of a distance detection there. And the area is pretty good too, but I sort of like this one here, the Y number.
Yeah, as long as you don't change the pitch of your camera.
Yeah. So it gets closer and closer. And then it gets to a point where, oops, I'm trying to
too close.
Get it in on it. There it is. It's like a quink.
Yeah, if you put your camera down lower, it'll do better at that.
Yeah, that's an issue I have. Is my platform's too high. But
using your phone.
But yeah, it would be good. But so that's what I'm doing on that area.
Mike, did you mention what camera depth sensing camera you're using?
It's the VL. It's not a camera. It's sensors. And it's the time of flight. The VL 5. What's that number? 53L5.
Yeah, it's one of the newer ones.
It's an 8x8 time of flight sensor.
I see.
Mike, I believe you said you had a set of 3 of them that you were using here.
Yes, like right here. This is this one set of 3, and then this is another set of 3, and that's another set of 3.
Yeah.
So I have them.
Okay.
If you're showing anything, Mike, but your camera's turned off.
Huh?
Mike?
Oh no! I'm using my cursor here.
Oh, I see.
He's placed lines on the listing that's printing out.
I'll turn my camera on in a little.
Mike, the question I wanted to ask you is what do you determine the angular field
Okay,
of
I have
view
my
is
phone on too.
of
Okay,
that
go ahead.
set?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I want to come in there and
Well, there's one sensor, like the center sensor that points forward. There's three sensors. One points forward, and the other two point at a 30-degree angle, so that I have like a 360-degree field of view.
Oh,
and
360. Okay.
And so that's for obstacle detection, basically. And I was trying to figure out if it's useful for anything else.
All right. So each one of those essential pixels in your display is very wide.
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
Yeah. Okay. Got
This
it.
might be. I think the center one's about this whole width here. Like you got break up into 8 pieces and break this up into 8 pieces. So they're big areas.
Yeah. So you've basically got 24 pixels spread across 180 degrees.
Right.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
it's okay for obstacle detection. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's pretty good. I'll show the hardware in a little bit. And another thing I have is let me take this away. I was like when I'm in ROS, I'm using Python, and it's basically, the camera, typically you say it's at TTY ACM0, Linux thing. And then I realized I was Googling and going, why don't you just use the by ID? And so say, okay, well, the serial port is blah, 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 MicroPython, OpenMV, blah, 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 blah. And it finds the camera, even though it might move around on different ports.
Where do you get that from?
Okay, over here, like you can see here, this is on my camera here.
Gotcha, yeah.
Let me blow this up a little more.
That's really cool. I got to check
Mike,
mine and see if it does
you
that.
have cameras, if you have multiple cameras, does it have the same ID?
I assume this number is going to be unique. Because I have two WaveShare RP2040 processors doing different things on the robot. And they have different numbers. And like this one is on ACM2, and then this one here is on ACM1. And so in the in this controller here, I selected this one, which was a unique number for my wheel controller.
Oh.
So I was using my kernel ID in basically part of a path that USB uses, but that looks a little more easier to use just by by ID.
Yeah. So this is the command line right there. ls-l dev serial by ID, and then everything.
Yeah, it lists all your USB devices, your serial devices.
Right.
So how do you get that? Is that part of because I'm not seeing it on my Pi. I don't see /dev/serial/by ID.
Oh, you don't? Oh. Do I need to get bigger?
I see it on my Xubuntu machine when I plug in my OpenMV camera.
But I think you have to have a serial port plugged in for it to come up.
Yeah.
Because I noticed I didn't have anything plugged into my Linux computer PC, and I did it, and it didn't work out. But now I have two of them plugged into my computer, and it comes up on, like, this is my development machine, and this is my robot Pi over here. And so right now I unplugged the camera and my time of flight out of the Pi because I wanted to display it on my laptop, and I'm not sure how to do it wirelessly. And so on my Ubuntu machine, 2 of them show up there. At this point in time, over here, I'm on the left side. All 3 of them were plugged into the Pi.
Oh yeah, I do see it now on my Ubuntu machine that has a serial port in it. Thank you. Wow, I didn't know about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, a little Googling helps. But yeah. It's like,
So
oh,
Mike, did you do anything for
Did
you do anything for permission on that? Because I'm getting a permission error. And it is working. It is listing the device, but I get a permission error.
Huh.
You might have to add a UDEV rule for it.
I've never had to do anything, but
Is that on a Pi or is that on an Ubuntu machine?
That's on a Raspberry Pi 4 that I'm doing it.
Oh.
I get a permission error.
Try sudo.
Well, sudo will clear the error.
Okay, I don't have that problem on my Raspberry Pi running. Well, my Raspberry Pi runs
I have to add
Ubuntu.
myself to the serial group.
Well, this Raspberry Pi is running Ubuntu and not Raspbian or Pi OS, so it might be a difference.
Yeah, I'm running Raspbian as well. I'm running
Ubuntu natively on my Pi.
You're running Ubuntu.
So these are both of these same Ubuntu 2204 on the PC and on the Pi. So that's probably why it works the same. Yeah. So and then I attempted to work on my BNO55, my IMU, and one that I got one a couple of weeks ago, and I decided, okay, it's time to try it. And I plugged it in, and it wouldn't detect it. Wouldn't detect it. It wouldn't detect it. I even tried different processors, and it wouldn't detect it. And I was trying to figure out how to return it to Adafruit, but I haven't figured that out either. But I ordered 2 more, a BNO55 and a BNO85 from Adafruit, and they both work, the ones that I just received. But I realized the 55 is rock solid running when I connect to it with a Pico, a Raspberry Pico processor. You can tell that that's what I like to use. And the BNO85, it was a little flaky connecting. So I'm going to be using the 055 until I can figure out how to do the 85 better. I mean, I'm hearing hints that 85 is better, but if it's not a solid connection, I don't consider it better.
Which connection are you using? Are you using the UART or I2C?
I2C.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've got mine. I'm using the UART, RCV or RVC or whatever mode. It basically dumps a binary packet at 100 hertz at over 115.2 UART without you needing to do anything.
So the 055 and the 085, with the exception of the mounting hardware, capacitors, and whatnots, uses the same exact sensor. The firmware on that's been designed for one of them to fit in a phone and the other one to fit in a head-mounted display. So it has different firmware going on. So some of that flakiness and difference could be the firmware on, and there's always a way to get the raw stuff off there and do all the stuff yourself. But
yeah,
yeah,
the 85 is the newest one, which is more for wearables. And
but the sensor itself that's actually gathering the data is the same exact hardware. It's just the firmware is different on the outside.
Yeah, the sensors are the same. It's just the firmware. So yeah, and then it has some kind of a different serial port or I2C port. They're basically saying, oh, this is this kind of blah 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 port. It's like, so
it's probably the Stemma QT stuff that SparkFun calls it something else, but Adafruit calls it the Stemma QT. It's a little 4-port, small JST style kind of thing that they're putting on all their boards. And I've started using those in all my little robots around here, and it's made some stuff a little more difficult, but made some stuff way easy for plugging things in and connections and stuff.
Yeah, the Adafruit 85 board has 2 of those ports on it.
Yeah, you can get the 55 with 2 of them on it as well.
Yeah, I've been using the 85 with the UART, and it's been pretty rock solid. I don't have any issues with it at all.
Yeah, but I've been committing myself to I2C and the QT connector.
Yeah.
In RVC mode, is calibration taken care of? You just turn it on, look at the...
Yeah, it's pre-calibrated and it just starts coming out. It dumps a little header text, and then it just starts dumping these binary packets. They're 19 bytes long, and it's got the roll, pitch, and yaw, and then the 3 accelerometer readings. And I mean, really, in these robots, all we're really interested in is yaw. So it works really well. I mean, I sat it on. I've got one mounted on the back of my robot here, and I sat it there for like half an hour, and it drifted 0.1 degrees in that half hour. Now, mind you, the robot wasn't moving, but
right. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try to show my hardware. So try to bring my screen back up. I'm gonna stop presenting and grab my robot and turn the camera on. Okay, so this is, like, you can see this right here is the camera on the top, and then you got the this here is the sensors I mounted, and so that's how I'm doing it. And then I put the IMU down here with a little cable, but sort of hard to see. But yeah, so it's and I wasn't thinking of height that much when I was building my robot. I really need to redo it, but I'm going to see what I can do with the way it's currently laid out in terms of height. So that's sort of my my show and tell.
The gold star for Mike. He showed us a robot moving and video coming from the moving robot. Yay!
Yeah, I have cables going from the robot to the PC, but
it was a robot moving, clearly.
Live demo.
I do believe, Paul, that's the biggest car I've seen on one of these meetups here. So that's pretty impressive. You got the big Go Star. Yeah.
Well, I have to confess, I robbed the Christmas tree.
Cool. Well, thank you,
thanks
Mike.
for all the input. Yeah.
Next in queue, we had Ray.
Let's see if I can do this. Okay, you're sharing your screen. Okay, there it is. What do I want to do? I want to shrink that down. Okay. This is the same robot that I've been running since like 2015. Anyway, I took off. This was a Benawaki time of flight sensor sitting on a servo, and that used to sit on the top right here. So now I've replaced that with 2 Pololu time of flight sensors, the ones that are good for 300 centimeters, and they just output a pulse width continuously, like at a roughly 30 hertz rate. So And to return the can to the correct goal, I'm trying to use wall following this time. Anyway, I am going to try to play it. Video. Okay. So it goes off and finds the can. That's just using a pixie cam that's underneath there. And it looks for that green square. And not the greatest videographer here. Anyway, it's doing wall following to get the can to the goal, and it picked up another can and pushed it in there as well.
Oh, you got a twofer.
Yeah, it does it a second time. So now it's following the wall on the other side because it saw the green square and it knew which goal it was facing towards. And here's where it picks up the other can.
Wow, is that planned behavior?
No.
Okay.
I guess just the way I placed them and the way it went,
Okay.
the path it took.
Yeah, the rules say you can only control one can at a time, so it would be returned.
Right.
You'd
have to put it back. Yeah.
Oh, really? So you'd have to put the other can back in the play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Since that was an uncontrolled can score.
Yep.
I was thinking to say it. I don't think he's actually controlling that can. It just happened to be a ride along.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway. So I didn't get the cans out of there fast enough. And okay, it's going to get one more. And I actually had a bumper on the front that was above the cans, but I found out that, it lost it in the claw, but it doesn't matter. I think it still gets it in there. Yep. Okay, yeah, and this is where I didn't get the cans out quick enough. So it decided it was going to attack the course here.
Demolish the course.
Left a turd there too. Yeah.
Oh, a screw. Yeah. That's that actually was this. There's a servo underneath that makes the claw move, and that screw fell out. Yeah, dropped one, left some parts behind on that run. Anyway, so it works pretty good. You can definitely use it. It's a little bit slower. My update rate is 20 hertz, so it doesn't always have a value, or the values aren't synchronized because I'm reading at some point in the reading both sensors. So it doesn't. It would be better if it updated a little bit quicker, but it's certainly usable at 30 hertz or around a little. I think it's 33 hertz. But anyway, so you can do it. You don't need a LiDAR on it. It seems to work pretty good. I never did anything with wall following before, and it's information that you can use in the course. You got 2 10-foot long solid walls that you can walk along to try to find where the goal is, basically. And it with those 2 sensors, it works pretty good. Find a situation. There's there's a location on the course where if the one sensor is already shining, or pointing through the goal, and it measures over 300 centimeters, I force it to go back to 0, because the other one is going to be shorter than that typically. The way it's facing, to have one of the sensors shine through the goal. And I want to do that because at that point, if I left that one close to 300 centimeters or larger, I'm trying to pick the wall that I'm the closest to, or which sensor reading is the shortest. So returning the one that's over 300 to 0 lets me do that. But otherwise, if I don't do that, it's a larger reading, and it's going to look for the other wall, and it turns around and heads back towards the other goal and dumps the can in the other goal. So, but anyway, just that's all I had to show.
Well, that's great.
Okay. Awesome. Gold star for Ray. Moving robot.
Nailing it. Yeah, that's
I
cool.
just have to figure out how to get out of it.
A stop presenting button somewhere.
Ray, you're still presenting, in case you didn't know.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to stop it.
Well, if anybody else just
and with
does
that
a
in
share,
mind, maybe we
it'll
can
stop
try
his
it.
off.
Yeah, I think John, you were next in queue. Anyhow.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, I'll just share mine for a second here.
Right.
So I'm working on 2 different robots right now. Last time I was here, I was working on a couple walking robots, but I kind of put those aside for a bit. So the first one, I decided I wanted to build a Robo Magellan robot. So I have this radio control rock crawler that I built up for a couple years when I was doing radio control rock crawling, and decided that would make a pretty good base for a Robo Magellan robot. So this is like a hobby grade RC car, not like one you buy at Walmart or anything. So it's got a Raspberry Pi 4 on it, and some embedded processors, and an Oak D Lite depth camera. I've been playing with depth AI a little bit. It's very cool. So yeah, it's going to be doing a lot more with this in over the next couple months. But I'm also was watching some of David Anderson's stuff, and kind of got inspired to build a little sort of rolling around tabletop robot. So I've been designing this, and this is all 3D printed. So it actually uses brushless gimbal motors for the wheels. So the little black brushless gimbal motors, you can get them off Ali. And I have the Simple Falk Mini brushless motor drivers, and I'm going to be using like 4 different RP2040s. These little guys from Waveshare, very similar to what the first guy is using. This one just doesn't have a USB port. It's got a wire that you can plug in to give you a USB port. And it's got a one of those 1.28-inch touch LCD panels, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's getting there. The hardware is almost all done. I've got 2 down-facing. These are the Palalu time of flight laser sensors. So it's got 2 of those facing down at like a 30-degree angle out of these 2 things. And this is I call it a tabletop robot because it's not going to roll off the edge of the table. And it has 5 more of those range finders spread over 180 degrees in that black. You can sort of see the mounts for them. I haven't actually gotten the sensors yet. They're on order from Ali, but they're going to get here soon. I have some other ones that are almost exactly the same, these ones, but these are the slightly shorter range ones, which it turns out are still reasonable, but they're missing something that the longer range ones have. These are the VL53L0X sensors, and they're all I2C, but it turns out the 0X sensors don't allow you to change the I2C ID. So if you want to have multiple sensors, and I'm going to have 7 on this robot, I'd have to have a huge I2C port expander or whatever. Whereas the VL53L1X allows you you put a shutdown line on each sensor, and it allows you to bring them up one at a time and reset their ID. So I've got a bunch of MicroPython code that takes care of that already, and so that's going to have those 7 sensors on this thing. Plus, of course, there's you can just see the little green boards there. Those are magnetic wheel encoders for the brushless motors. So it's going to do closed loop control for the motors. And I'm probably going to add a little mast and put an IMU up at the top somewhere to get yaw. So I want to play around with trying to do very precise odometry with this and see how, and implement subsumption framework on it and see how it works out.
Your 3-phase brushless controllers, can you actually control the motor like to an angular position?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I will show you. Let me just pop up a video on my channel here first. Give me 1 second. Video, and this is my most recent video. Where'd it go? There it goes. Share entire screen. Boom. Okay. And running like Python. And on a 2040 now video.
And what was the part number of your motor controller?
It's a Simple FOC Mini. Simple FOC Mini. I can post a link to it in a minute.
Okay.
I think at some point here I do something with this. I'm just describing what this stuff is in the video, but we'll get to the good part here. So this is all open loop control. I didn't have an encoder on the motor, but it turns out doing FOC in a simple way is really easy. It's basically just 3 sine waves that are offset phase shifted by 120 degrees each, and you do PWM to simulate the phase shift or the PWM, the sine curve, and it works really well. You basically just use 3 of the hardware PWM lines, and it's about 50 lines of code in MicroPython to do the whole thing. So anyway, that's
John, that's a gimbal motor without gearing, right?
Yeah,
So
that's just the straight gimbal motor.
So how many encoder pulses do you get per revolution?
That depends on what encoder you're using. The encoder that I'm using right now is an AS5600, which is kind of the cheap stepchild of the encoder world, and it's a 12-bit encoder, so you're going to get 4,096 pulses per revolution.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But like I said, I didn't have an encoder on that during that demo. That was all open loop, just controlling the motor with no feedback.
Wow. So I guess with an encoder like that and no gear lash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm hoping this is going to work out really well, because this has, the same kind of motors, and these are brushless gimbal motors. These ones are a little tiny bit smaller than that one, but it's the same thing. I run them at 12 volts. I've got this 3S battery here. It's 1100 milliamps. And I'm going to have an RP2040 driving each one. And then I'm going to have an RP2040 talking to all the sensors, and a 4th one, which would be the bus master, who's controlling the LCD and basically making all the decisions about, implementing the subsumption architecture and the odometry and navigation and all that jazz.
What's a gimbal motor?
So, in a drone, when they go like this and the camera keeps pointing straight ahead.
Oh, okay. Got it.
That's a gimbal. And you can get handheld ones too. So it's basically, it's a brushless motor that you're controlling with FOC. And in the case of a camera, you use an IMU to keep it level. And so as you start tilting, the IMU starts tilting, and then you just change the gimbal, the brushless motor setting, and you can do a PID loop with that, and it works really well.
John, I wanted to ask you, given that there's no gearbox on these motors, what's your experience in terms of the torque capability that you can get at a variety of speed ranges? Any thoughts on
The interesting thing about brushless motors is they seem to have lots of torque at almost no RPM. So I haven't had this running yet. I'm basically trying to get I'm using the Arduino, or it started to use the Arduino library for control, and I'm just trying to get the PID loop tuned that they provide and stuff like that. So I had to get these little tiny 6-pin surface mount 1mm pitch connectors for my encoders. So I finally got those a couple days ago and soldered up one of the boards, and so now I'm playing around with that, trying to get that working properly first, and I have to. I still this just has a proto board inside it, which currently has nothing on it. But this is, I 3D printed a mock-up of the circuit board of what it's going to look like. It's kind of hard to see because it's black, but let me get some more light on the situation here. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, it'll have 4 of these RP2040s on it and a whole pile of connectors. And that's the awesome thing about these new boards that you can get, like these ones, that you don't need any extra work. I'm going to have these Palalu 5-volt 5-amp regulators to get from 12 volts down to 5 volts. All of these guys run off the 5 volts. You put 5 volts in and you get 3.3 volts out, kind of thing. And so yeah, and the sensors all run off the 3.3 volts, which is just an output from the RP2040 boards.
John, I've also used those 5600 sensors, and I can confirm they're a very impressive and not very expensive rotary sensor. I'll offer one advice for those who might want to look at it. Make sure you get the correct magnet. They need a specialized cross-polarized magnet. If you don't have the right magnet, they won't work.
Yeah. So a normal rare earth magnet like this is polarized so that the north pole is on one of the flat faces and the south pole is on the other flat face. In order to use a magnetic encoder like that, you need one that's where the north, it's split into 2 halves, and the north pole is sort of on one side and the south pole is on the other side, so that the pole division actually rotates as the disc rotates. And yeah, they're special magnets, but the ones that I get from Ali are these kind of crappy white sensors, but each one comes with one of those magnets. So I ordered like 10 of them, and they're like $1 something each. So I've got a bunch of those magnets that I can use.
You can order the sensor without the magnet. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Yep. So the other interesting thing that I got this week, this board here. So this is from Seed Studio. It's a Grove board. This is an AI vision board, the version 2 of their vision board. You can plug a Raspberry Pi camera, one of the what are they? The OV5647s, into this. This has a neural processor on board that can run models. So you can run
Kendrite?
like, what's that?
Is it the Kendrite? What is it? K210 or something?
No, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, but if you go to their website and look for the Grove Vision AI V2, they have a little bit of information on it. But it basically, it's got like it's got a UART and I2C and whatever, so you can get the, you don't necessarily want to stream the video frames from the camera, but you can run the model at fairly low resolutions at 30 frames a second, doing inferencing for like object detection or people detection or pose or all kinds of different, you know, I mean, you can only load one model at a time. There's not a huge amount of memory on this thing, but it's like $16. So, you know, that's pretty amazing. When I compare that to my Oak D Lite, which has got way more horsepower, but also costs $150 US, it's pretty amazing. And this is tiny and it uses hardly any power, and you can run it on virtually anything.
John, did you see that message that I sent out on the list about the new product from them? It's about half the price of Oak D Lite.
Yeah, I didn't see it on the list. I signed up for the list, but I haven't gotten accepted or whatever yet. So I'm not getting any emails yet. But I saw somebody posted in a Discord thing, and I did see that. So it turns out that Luxonis, which is the company that makes the Oak D Lite and all of the other Oak sensors, they have an Oak Lite, which is a single camera sensor with the same processor, the Myriad RCV2 that the Oak D Lite has, and it that sells for $99. So it's a little more. It's not on sale right now, obviously, like that sensor that you linked, but it's more or less the same thing, and it's running exactly the same hardware in behind the scenes. I've been playing around with Depth AI. It's really impressive. It's basically with this sensor, with the neural processor on this thing, you can do depth inferencing and run a detection model that you train yourself, like for orange cones, at the same time at 30 frames a second with basically zero processing overhead on your Raspberry Pi. It's all happening on the camera, which is really cool. And you basically just get metadata back from the camera about, you know, where the object is that you detected, and you can like, you know, pixelize the depth map into much bigger chunks and get those back, you know, which is a much smaller data stream than actually getting back like a 640 by 400 image. So it's a really impressive piece of hardware for $150. I backed their Kickstarter and got one a while ago, but I've started playing with it, and it is really cool.
John, I wanted to follow up a little on your gimbal motors. So for people who haven't seen them, like this is one example. This is one of these handheld things, and you can see that this gimbal motor is in this joint right here.
Yeah.
And you know, this is an iPhone 14, so it's relatively heavy, and yet the motor has enough oomph to
work, yeah,
to hold it at that extended distance. And you can see it's also got the stabilization with the slow follow built in.
Yeah.
But I've noticed if I run this for a while like this, it'll actually heat up, John.
Yeah.
It's taking so much power to hold.
Yeah. So this is the one that I was using in the video. I've 3D printed a little stand with the encoder sensor on the bottom, and just got it hooked up to my RP2040 there. But I have to talk to one of the guys from SimpleFoc on the Discord to get some help tuning the model, get some help tuning the parameters for the thing to, you know, because it depends on which sensor you're using and which motor you're using as to what kind of things. This is a 2805 Flycat with 140 kV. So gimbal motors are a little different than like the kind of motors, you know, if you have a drone, it has brushless motors driving the propellers. Those are high kV motors. So they're running, you know, anywhere from 2,000 to like 10,000 kV or whatever, and they run really, really fast. Gimbal motors are like in the hundreds of kV, and so those run much, much, much slower and have a lot more power. My my Robo Magellan robot here has a brushless motor in it, and it's a 2100 kilovolt, but it also has a geared transmission, so it can slow it down a bunch.
What did the SimpleFoc Mini cost?
Like $10.
That's all. Wow.
I got it on Alley. Just a sec. Let me grab the link for you.
Yeah, I was looking them up, and that's about the right price.
Yeah. Let's
Canadian.
See. Yeah, Canadian. No, absolutely. There it is, right there. Okay,
So that's
so
like only $8.
it's the maker base. Yeah, sorry, it's $5 Canadian.
Whew.
Let me paste the link in the chat here.
See, that's a good price, eh?
Yeah, and the motors that I'm using are the motors I'm using are basically from this link. Those are the brushless gimbal motors. And if you type in AS5600, you'll find like 5,000 people who are selling the encoders. So,
yep.
But yeah, it turns out that the Simple Fock Mini is really simple. It's got like 5 control pins, which are really just ground, enable, and the 3 PWM lines. And then there's the 3 lines going out to the motor and power and ground. And like I say, I run it off 12 volts. And yeah, it works really well. I posted the code, my MicroPython code for the RP2040, doing that little gimbal thing on my GitHub. If you can just look it up, it's under John Hyland, spelled like my name is spelled.
Who's in the queue next? I got a bunch of questions.
So what is the torque spec on these kind of motors?
I have no idea. They have lots of torque. Yeah, I mean, it's relative because they're really small. But, you know, if you look at, they have bigger ones that you can get as well. Like, just a sec. So, you know, if you want to spend a lot of money, you know, you can get this motor, which is a brushless gimbal motor that costs about $100, but you can't drive that off a Simple Fock Mini. But then you need to go and buy.
But you can use that on a gimbal with like a DSLR, right? I mean, that's a
yeah, and then you can buy one of these boards, which are like 200 and some odd bucks, but these things do everything for you. It does the FOC control right on the board. So you basically, you can hook up with CAN or what UART or whatever and drive this thing. And
is that an O-drive board?
Yeah, it's an O-drive board. And so with something like this, then you can 3D print a cycloidal gearbox, like a 10-to-1 gearbox, and then you can use a motor like this with that gearbox to make like a spot, a Boston Dynamics spot if you've got 12 of them. But you know, that's about $3,000 worth of hardware too. So I was sort of thinking about that, but then I saw those little gimbal motors and decided to start off going a little bit smaller.
Who's in the queue next?
Cool.
I posted up there. So after John, then we have Steve, Doug, and Harold, and open mic.
Okay. Okay. I guess you could stick me at the end of the queue. I had a bunch of questions. I've done basically taken apart a hoverboard and have been trying to drive it with, you know, I think they're good for up to 20 amps, 60 volts. They actually accept Hall effect inputs, and you basically give it a PWM for speed control. But I found that it regulates the speed somewhat, but if you have a big obstruction, say for like one wheel to get over versus another wheel, it won't get it back to,
they're
the same
probably
position.
not doing FOC, because that's the whole premise of FOC, is that it
Right.
it doesn't matter if you run into something, it keeps it going at the same speed regardless.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was a little disappointed. They were like $7. There was very little documentation, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to try it. So yeah, my outdoor platform is this beast where I have two hoverboard motors, and two of those boards driving it, and I'm using two 4S batteries in series, so
yeah,
to get the voltage up, and it works pretty good. The board provides a pulse out, kind of like a tachometer. It's not quadrature, just single channel, but it's only 96 edges per rotation, so it's really kind of coarse.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to have to add, something like the AS 5600 on it, on each wheel, and to get the counts up. But yeah, that's kind of where I've gotten so far. Anyway, didn't mean to cut you off there, Steve.
Hey, no worries. I know a lot of you might not know me. I've been a member of DPRG for quite a few years, also serving on the board. But I've taken a bit of a hiatus this last few years from COVID, from the club, at least participating in the robot building portions of it, still serving as a board member. But recently, I've decided and committed to getting a little bit more back involved in the robot building side of things. And one of the projects that I'm working on right now is just setting up and learning CAN, like CAN bus communication. And so I'm kind of investing in parts and pieces that I'm going to build a good outdoor robot platform for the Robo Magellan, I guess. And anyway, so just getting started with the CAN stuff. I put together basically using just a 6-foot length of twisted pair from a Cat6 cable. So it's shielded cable. And I've got on the end a DB9 connector with the 120 ohm resistors. And I, testing from low to high on unenergized, I'm seeing 60 ohms of resistance, which I think is correct. Which means that both ends are correctly terminated. And the center line is ground. I've got these two MCP 2515. They're just small boards that have the CAN transceiver on it. And so on one end, I've just got a Arduino Mega, and I'm trying to listen and catch any CAN messages that are coming across the bus. On the other end, I've got an Arduino Uno with a little color detection sensor, and another transceiver. And so what I've noticed as I was trying to get this up and running, let me share my screen, I guess. The entire screen. Can you guys see this Arduino code?
Yep.
So on the left, I've got the sender code, and this is just the setup code that I'm showing here, and the setup code of the receiver. On the left, what I see is when I start this up, I get through this initialization, and I'm getting the error OK back for all those, which is a 0. And then when it gets down into the send piece, where I'm in the loop, I actually send, and I capture the output of that send message and just kind of print out whether it was okay or something happened. The first few times on the init, it's fine. And then on the first 3 that I send, it says okay. And then I'm getting mostly, and I just commented it out because it was chewing up the screen or the serial monitor. But mostly I'm getting this error, all transaction busy. And I think that's because I'm putting too many messages on that aren't getting read. They're taken off the bus, and that's my assumption. On the receiver side, I have the same setup because it's the same board. And so they're both set to 500 kbps at 8 megahertz. But when I run this, it's failing on the initialization. The reset is returning an E fail or an error fail. And the set bit rate is also returning an error fail. And I'm not exactly sure why. So I just thought I would ask this group that probably has been doing a bit more CAN than I have. If they run into this, do I just have a bad MCP 2515 board? I've got some more on order, but I'm just kind of troubleshooting it at this point.
Okay. Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
I did almost exactly the same experiment following along with a article that was on YouTube. I mean, on the web. I'm going to post this link, and I have done this one successfully. Okay. And I agree with you. CAN is, I think, the way to go on your robot if you can, because of it's so cool. But anyway, let me, I'm going to, so CAN, I guess a demo / instructions. It just so happened that I had all the parts for this demo, so I just copied it and tried it, and it worked. It's using a temperature humidity sensor, and it has a library. It suggests a specific library to help.
Yeah, the library that I'm using in this was there's so many of these libraries. I wasn't sure which one to use, but
Yeah, well, that's I think that's part of the problem is that some of them are only partial implementations of it, and I think there's other, and some of them might can have bugs in them. See, I'm trying to figure out what he used. Like I say, this worked.
okay. I'll take a look at that. Yeah, the one that I used was this Auto WP MCP 2515.
Yeah.
And the reason that I used it is, or that he was using it and was suggesting to use it, is because it used just a simple structure. In order to set the data and the different bits.
There's a, we did have Scott come in and give us a CAN bus presentation, and he really went into it really well.
I was looking for that recording. Do you guys have that?
It's on there. I know it's up there.
How to find it now?
Okay. Yeah, let's try. I'll try real quick with something like DPRG, Clips, Scott, CAN bus. Let's see what we get. Scott Gibson, Gibbs, GIBSON.
Yeah.
See if we get anything.
Yeah, I understand he's had some ups and downs with it, but I think he does work for an elevator company. So.
Oh God,
that's terrible.
Oh.
There's no stars in that one, Ray.
No,
-1 star for the bad joke.
Hey, don't force me to ask you guys for a number from 1 to 400. That's what I'm saying. I got a whole pocket full of these things, and I came here to do dad jokes and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Well, I don't know. You're right. I couldn't find it right off either. So, yeah, it's out there. I know it's out there because I did use it once. Okay. So.
You've told me it's out there. I just have never found it.
Yeah.
Well, there's one on 20. I searched my meeting notes, and I think 2018 June 9 monthly meeting. But I don't know if that's Scott or not. It was just a CAN bus meeting.
That's got to be him. He's the only one that's done one recently.
And then recently, 6 years ago, 2018 June 9.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember it being good.
It's bleeding edge.
Yeah. Well, not bleeding edge, but. So.
Yeah, I don't know how to get the YouTube DPRG clicks more searchable because they've become a little cluttered with 48 or 50 meetings a year.
Well, the other thing too is we don't do a good job. There ought to be some sort of keywords in the we tend to cut and paste because we do them every week and everything, and so there's no. The description of one is the same as the description of another one. The only thing that you're probably going to see is the author is going to be there, but.
Or maybe the word monthly, that might narrow it down.
Yeah, I think monthly might be in there. Yeah. Let's see.
Give you every DPRG presentation that was ever made, right?
Oh, God. Yeah, it's all up there. It's, and as a what is it? 501c, they never bug us about how much space we're using or anything.
I often think that library scientists could teach us computer scientists quite a bit about managing information.
You mean like the book kind of library, or?
Yeah. Library science is its own discipline, and it really deals with how to categorize and make searchable knowledge broadly.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use Ross bags.
All right. Well, yeah, maybe searching the website would work. DPRG would get us to the date.
Yeah, that's a good point. The website was redone, I want to think, in 2016. So, it's probably, if you go to the website and just look back in the monthly meetings, you'd find it. And the video would be attached to it.
Well, Steve, I'm excited that you're getting back into building robots. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll have the home field advantage for the next competition, hopefully.
You got great access to the course,
Yeah,
I'm going to flag conflict of interest, but
I just posted
the robot base I'm going to go with is based off that wheelchair. Probably going to replace the motors, but haven't decided yet. Do something a little bit different.
I just pasted a link to the CAN bus presentation.
Oh, you too. Look at us. We both found it. That's funny.
Nice.
Put it in the.
It's in there twice. It's so important.
It's in there twice. The video is the second section down in it.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I've been looking for that.
Man, we're just knocking out the answers tonight. This is what a productive meeting, huh?
I just did a simple Google search on the site dprg.org.
Oh, so what do you do? Just cite DPRG?
I'll post what I did.
Is this like cite colon?
Yes, yeah, something like, show the syntax, if you could.
I'll paste it in there.
There's actually some operators that you can give to Google that aren't necessarily well known, but they're pretty powerful if you can
That's
figure
great.
them out.
That's really great.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's handy for searching websites where things are obscure.
Yeah.
It's great for sites that are badly indexed because Google does a great job of indexing it, even if the site itself doesn't.
Yeah.
Like the WordPress default, the search engine default built into WordPress is terrible by comparison to what Google can do.
Oh yeah.
And the site colon syntax can also be used to search Craigslist sites that are outside of your own home city. So Craigslist won't let you search anywhere outside of one geography that you can select. But you can, if you put that site colon Craigslist.com, then you can get answers from Craigslists all over the country.
Oh, but there is a way to do that. There's a search all Craigslist.
Oh,
if you've ever seen that, and it does, yeah. I'll look for. One of my favorite things to look for is Chinook RVs, and there's not that many of them, so it finds them wherever they are, in the United States. So.
Oh.
But
must be a new feature.
Well, Steve, does that get you going?
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'll take a look at this article. I've got some other boards, so if it's a board issue, I got a couple of new ones coming.
Cool.
The other question, I don't know if any of you have ever used this device. This is called USB CAN FD X2, and it comes with some software called PCAN View.
Yeah.
That you can connect to a CAN bus and I guess monitor and send messages directly onto the bus. Is anyone familiar with that PCAN View software?
It's hard to set up, but you can't. I did get it working at one time. I haven't really gone into using that module in my latest attempt into CAN, but it was, if I remember right, it was one of those things that part of the problem was getting a stable version of it. But if you can get the right copy for your module, because I think the modules also change. There's like a gazillion, there's like version 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. And anyway, but if I was able to get it working, I'm sure that you could, Steve, because, that's the sort of thing that really fits.
My question on this software was more specific to the clock frequency. If I go back here. This PCAN View, like when I plug this thing in and tell it to connect, it sees the device, but then the clock frequency and the bit rate only have limited options. And like these MCP 2515, they only have like an 8 hertz oscillator. I didn't see an 8 hertz option for frequency. So I don't even know if I can use this software with those devices or not, or if this is the same thing. So yeah, just wondering if anyone had experienced that. All right, no worries.
Yeah. But like I say, I'm on that same journey as you are. So we'll see, if I get to where I feel I need that to look at that particular unit. What I'm going for now is adding additional nodes, making sure I understand how to wire them up correctly. and see if they I can be successful. Otherwise, I'm taking that basic example that it was very similar to what you did, and I'm adding a third node to it. Okay?
Yeah.
And seeing how it goes there. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to compare notes after a while to see
Yeah.
what you figured out and what I figured out.
Yeah, because that's how I planned it. I'm planning to separate the functions of several of my robot parts, and instead of having a wiring nest, I'm just going to use CAN bus.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. I can create standalone or clusters of sensors connected to a CAN controller transceiver.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then just broadcast the output of those sensors. If they're all clustered together, then I can just go to one controller and send them over the bus. If they're spread apart, then I can have separate nodes within the bus.
I do know a couple of things that might be of interest. That board that you're talking about that uses SPI, SPI,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It will work on 3.3 volts.
Yeah, I saw that.
But there's another part of it that won't work on 3.5 volts. There's two chips there, and one of them is the thing that formulates the CAN bus, and then there's the other one which actually serves the line. And I can't remember which one is which, but one of them requires 5 volts and the other one only requires 3.3 volts. So if you're using it on a Pi, you have to do a few tricks. Let's see what else. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm using Teensies. And Teensies have a CAN bus. Several other microprocessors do too, obviously. But Teensy, you don't even need that module that you've got. You need just the part that actually sends it on the line. And
right.
And that's even cheaper than that module you bought. It's just because it's a little chip. So anyway, just FYI, that's all that is.
Yeah, I've got one of the things that I ordered was the Feather M4 CAN Express from Adafruit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit expensive, $25 for the little board, but it's got Cortex M4.
Yeah.
And a fair amount of memory, and it's got the CAN controller built into it.
Right.
And
that's the same like the Teensy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I think that's gonna, that it's a simpler solution.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right, that's all I had, guys. Thanks.
Okay, I think I was next. So, yeah, I don't have much to say, but I've been building on something, and it was a kit, and they used a component that I was not familiar with, or if I might have seen it sometime in the past, but it definitely skipped my mind. So I'm going to, if you'll pin me, I'll just show it up. Well, never mind. I'm going to share the screen. And if you haven't used these things are really cool. I was surprised at how nice they were. Let's see. Okay, boom, boom. No, not that. Where's my Amazon? Here. These little things. This particular one is they're called R3 type because they're 3 millimeter. The shaft here is 3 millimeters. So if you had a 3 millimeter screw, you could use this. And what you do is you push this guy over here, and it extends a wedge down into the bottom and locks in place. So it's a screw replacement, and it's blind. And if you need to get it rid, you can curse, two magic curse words and a screwdriver. You can pry it back open, and it comes apart. So I'm thinking of getting some of these because they're just really, really surprisingly useful. If you're attaching aluminum parts to, or any other part to itself, because you don't have to have a nut on the backside. You just pop this in, and so like, let's say you were attaching things to your main platform base. You could use these guys, and they come in different lengths. The one I'm looking at here says it's good for 4 to 5 millimeters. All right, but they come. I think even here they've got them up to 5.5 and 6.5. So that's a 1/4 inch. So anyway, something to think about. I don't know if you guys all said, I've known about that for years, but I didn't, and I thought I might share. That's all I had to really talk about.
Make Block uses those, and you can buy them from them as well.
Yeah. This is just a sample site. There's lots of places to buy them, but you want the ones that are like this. They have a nice, pretty head, and they're straight. Now, because they have things like rivets for fender panels. Well, that's a little overkill for us, but they do come. So this one actually is a 4 millimeter base, I think. Yeah, it goes in a 4 millimeter hole.
Mm-hmm.
So they have them all the way up to probably 1/2 inch. But I just thought that would be useful. Some people might find this as something that to have in their toolbox of tricks. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I think I'm going to have something cool to show this at the robot show and tell this weekend.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yep. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you, Doug. I think next in queue, I had Harold, then Ray with questions, then open mic. Harold, what's up in the lab up at your place?
Well, my robot menu was working, but now it's not. And I'm trying to get it going again. I ran out of power last Friday, so I'm trying to get me some more power. Characteristic weird things happening. My screen doesn't come on, which makes me feel a little bad. But anyway, that's not what I came here for today. Next Saturday, I really want to be there. I have myself in a little bit of a thing, not a big thing. I'm going to have a training class from 9 to noon, and I was wondering how early might somebody be there at the makerspace that might be able to let me in someplace where I could plug in and jack into the Wi-Fi so I could be on the Zoom call. That's a question.
I think we're the meeting is scheduled to begin at 11:30, so there'll be someone there at least by then, right, Carl?
Yeah, my meeting's scheduled to start at 9 o'clock, so I've got to just. I wanted to ask a question in case somebody's going to just be there anyway, because I know this group, and I know there's people in this group that are there all the time, but that kind of stuff. And I thought maybe somebody would be there. If not, I'll make some other plans. But I figured I would ask before. And I know Saturday's sort of a busy day, and they'll have some people there, but I am not a member, so I got to pretend to be a member and not cause any grief to the club, that kind of stuff, right? As I'm waiting to get in there. So don't know how that's normally kind of happened. I mean, I guess I could go wait at the door, but then I got to. What the reason is, I have a training member. I don't know meeting. I got duped. Maybe duped. No, somebody asked real nice. Last year at this time to go be a timekeeper for something called Destination Imagination.
Oh yeah.
And that was a fantastic day. I was worn out. I was a timekeeper. I wasn't an appraiser or people scoring these fine young kids, getting their young people doing all kinds of really cool stuff. I'm like, they can do that, and they're like 8 years old. Holy moly! And it's a fantastic event, and it's a fantastic organization. So I've got some training going on that I need to be in order to help these people do, and I want to be there, which is another reason, Paul, I can't be there on the 24th because I'll be at the Destination Imagination helping a bunch of young people become evil geniuses. So, so I'm kind of there, right? So,
well, the 24th is canceled now, so
okay.
So, don't worry about it.
Then I feel less bad then. So I was just asking if somebody was there. What now?
Would a McDonald's work?
Oh, well, yeah, but I just didn't. The thing is, my laptop is got some age to it.
I could be there earlier, but the catch is, in my case, I have something else, so I may be running late myself.
I'll figure something out. I've not yet begun to fight. I'll figure something out between now and then.
Harold, if you get stuck, ping me. I wasn't planning to go quite that early, but ping me.
Yeah, and I didn't want any inconvenience to anyone at all. I think I'm formulating a plan. Me, Harbor Freight, an inverter, running car. I'm good. I think phone, for connectivity, that kind of thing. I think I can do that pretty easy. I figured I would ask if they were there. The other thing that occurred to me as I was listening to all the people and people showing off hardware and stuff, and I will tell you, I've had something sitting around my lab for well over a year now because I bought the wrong thing. And Amazon did not take returns on this thing. And I bought the wrong thing. I know why they don't return. Well, I'm guessing why. It's because of the kind of object it is. And so I said, listen, I bought the wrong thing. I got no use for this. What I do is I want its bigger brother, and I've already ordered that. What do I do with this? And they go, well, we'll return your money on that one. And what do I do with it? They go, keep it, do something with it, give it away, whatever. So as I've been trying to give it away, I don't know, for about a year, and a couple, 2 or 3 people said, oh yeah, that'd be great. And I come and ask them, how's that working? Oh, we ain't even opened the box. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can't very well do that. So to everybody here, if somebody wants this thing, I know I haven't showed it to you yet. I'm waiting to reveal here. I know I'm building up the suspense, right?
I'm a bit afraid.
It's not a blow-up doll, right?
Oh no. This is something I think somebody should want. And the reason I don't want it is because I got the bigger, smarter brother over here I'm using already to do what I want on streaming and that kind of thing. And so I'll show it up here. And it's called a Beacon Mix. This is a $149 at the time I went to go buy it. See, the seal is still there. Went to go buy it from Amazon. What this thing does, it's USB. You plug it into there. You plug it into your port, the USB, and this controls the volume levels of, let's say, your browser, other system files, other things. This controls the mix of and stuff that goes into your headphones and your speaker. So if somebody has a use for said thing, the reason I don't have that use is because I have, where does my camera go? Ah, there it is. I have the bigger brother here. And then what the bigger brother does, it's able to do routing and audio sourcing. So with that right there, with that bigger brother, I can have an audience mix and a headphone mix so that I can hear both and route them between different things. So if I had a guest come in, I could route their voices to me until I want them to go out and do that kind of stuff and route other things to me so I can hear things the audience can't hear. This one does not have that capability. So, but if you look it up, it's called a Beacon Mix. The story behind this is that there were some folks that were going to the Elgato, that switching thing that everybody wants with the fancy keys and all that kind of stuff. People got mad at that and decided to go start their own company, and this is what they started. So if any of you people on this thing want it, reach out, say hello. I'm more than willing to donate it to whatever cause if somebody wants it, because it's been sitting around my house. Again, not even opened. So you can't get no newer than that hardly. And the thing is, I could give it away on my Twitch stream, but all the people on my Twitch stream, they don't want it anyway. They want the thing that I got sitting on my desk, So So if anybody has a need for it or wants it, it's sitting over here. Reach out, say hello. I'm happy to meet you somewhere, or this. If you're going to be at the Makerspace this Saturday, I will make sure I bring it, and you can certainly have it. So it does what you want. But anyway, that's really all I had was to ask that if somebody was going to be there ultra early, because I know sometimes people are. And then that occurred to me to do a little giveaway on whatever's going around. As I'm cussing my screen here that's not coming on right.
Cool. Well, not cool on the screen problems, but
no, that's
kind on the.
Well, some of this is because it's a low power thing, and I'm really concerned that because I had some low power issues and stuff going on there, and now I don't think it's responding correctly on the SPI, but I need to verify a whole bunch of stuff. It's plugged in correctly.
You have low power at your house, or
no. What was happening is this is a USB cable that was feeding the Teensy and feeding my encoder, which is not a big deal. This screen, which was actually flickering a little bit, I didn't recognize it, and I was trying to plug in the PAA 8x8 LiDAR, and things were not. Things were working a little bit, and I thought I had some flaky connections. And after I talked to a couple of folks and watching when it did work, as we would get a full read from the LiDAR, the 8x8 matrix coming out that in the serial thing, this would flash at pretty much the same rate. So I'm guessing it's a power thing. And somebody brought it up. You asked what I thought, and away we went. And at no time did I have this menu working at some point because I was doing other things, but it was still plugged in. I wasn't driving the screen, and I might have done some harm to that.
I see.
And I fear that's what that might be. So I'm going to check all my connections again, do a couple of things, and I've got another one over here that's kind of spare. That if you have two of something, you got one of something. If you got one of something, you got none of something. That's how that kind of stuff works. And so I ordered a spare for doing this, just because I figured I would let the smoke out or screw up. I might not. I might just have a bad flaky connection here. I need to go through and check them again. And so make sure everybody's plugged in with plenty of juice. Yeah, but that's all I had, folks. That's all.
Good luck, Harold.
Thank you.
Hopefully, like I said, ping me if you get stuck on Saturday.
Okay.
Otherwise, I wasn't planning to. But okay, next we had Ray with some questions, maybe still or maybe not. Then open mic.
Yeah, I think I probably need to do a little more research, and then could probably ask some questions next time.
Okay.
So it's on the three-phase motor drivers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think John's going to up our game on brushless now.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of knowledge wealth that's on the horizon here. Okay. Well, that leads us to open mic. So if someone has some robot-y stuff, please jump in. Otherwise,
I have stuff I can show you.
Right.
So let me click on a window. Home window, I think. Present now. We'll get new window. That's, I think, what I want to show. So I saw this. So this sort of looks interesting. It's not a robot per se, but it's a plotter, and it's polar, so it effectively goes around. So that's sort of the interesting part on it. I can clip play, you can sort of see it run a little bit, I think. But
it's pretty cool.
It is pretty neat. Yeah. I'll speed up to the real plotting part. Y'all can read them. It's pretty simple, though. It looks like it wouldn't be that hard to build.
Is that like a foot diameter for the platter, or?
Probably. I could
maybe less.
Let's see what does it got. 29 millimeter by 10 ish.
You know, I may be old and gray-haired and getting a little soured in my day, but I cannot tell you how many things that I've downloaded, looked at, put in, watched videos, and then did exactly what they did, and guess what? Didn't work.
Yeah.
But this one's pretty straight, simple, I'm thinking. So
I've taken the straight.
yes.
I
So
get to the point goes, hey, here's a ruler. Lay it down. See it rules. I'm like, no, it don't. You know, I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sure it's me. It could possibly be the fact that sometimes stuff don't work, only works once for somebody and they post it.
John, I'm hearing a challenge, John. It sounds like
that
prove it.
That one is pretty neat.
Prove it.
I might be tempted on that one because it doesn't look like all that parts for it. So it's pretty.
Oh, I am happy to be wrong. Trust me, I'm happy to be wrong in this regard.
And then the other thing, since I did run across it, is this is where I got my glasses, is Rainbow Simply. So if y'all want to know about that, I would say go there, or else this place, the B&H Photoshop place, for their clips. And then the other thing was, well, I'll get real further down, but I want to say about 12 or 13 is your shade, 14.
Is there anything that BH Photoshop place doesn't sell? They're like Walmart's or something, right? They're like Walmart or something.
But in this case, yeah, they have, yeah, so those are the two spots for that.
So on the turntable plotter thing, it's an interesting concept, and clearly the amount that the turntable has to turn varies depending on the radius from the center of rotation. But I note that there's a singularity at the center of rotation. Like, what's supposed to happen there?
Well, it would just make a mark.
It's a black hole.
Well, it would just make a mark. It would just not go anywhere.
Intuition tells me that the calculations end up with an infinity in them.
Let's see, what did they give me about that? Here's Bill. How do you actually draw the thing? Well, that's the part I didn't read. I just noticed. Okay, Gerbo firmware. Okay.
I didn't mean to dive into this, but
no, it is a real bit of a question because it uses Gerbo firmware, and then how do you calculate? Yeah, how do you plot?
You know, there's the gimbal problem, right? With roll, pitch, and yaw, and that's what quaternions are designed to overcome. And it seems like this thing would
use Escape to generate the code, but the key phrase I have is how do they go from SY to circle, basically. Equals down low, select copy, okay, there's some real program that converts it from SY to circle, basically.
Okay, John, that was just a facetious.
Well, no, actually, it was the question in my mind was how did it convert from SY to? So there's a code out there that basically converts it, so it goes into circle mode. So it's called TKCNC. So there's what I have for it. As I said, it was just interesting. It caught my eye that normally I see SY versions, but this one was draw a circle. Which I've seen one where they actually have a mug light type thing, but yeah, it was different.
That's cool.
Yeah. As I said, parts-wise, there are not too many parts involved. And as I'm looking at it, it looks like they have very good documentation on Herald, so I don't think this would be one of those where they just show you a picture and say, okay.
You know, I'm just saying, I'm a bit gun shy. I'm just, I got a whole stack of stuff over here that's straightforward, and you ought to be able to be just work.
So yeah, as I said, this one It looks like he went into even how to run Inkscape and the conversion code. So yeah. So I would say, hey, I made that after April build this. Probably is just between now and April. It's not that far off. So it definitely looks interesting. So those were the two things I have, basically.
I had something else that I forgot to show.
What you got, John?
So one of the things I was thinking about is actually making this into a 6-can type robot, even though the cans are, you know, a little bigger. it's a very small robot, but
There's probably
I think
brushless gimbal motors, so you can lift anything.
Yeah, well, this you don't have to actually lift them; you just slide them along. But I actually had a question for either Tom or Pat. What's the surface like? The 6-can that you guys are running in April or May or whenever it is, in Tom's driveway? Is it like a wood surface, or is it like pavement or concrete, or
Concrete. It's got seams in it. The seams are about 1/2 inch wide.
Oh,
so you want to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
It's not perfectly level. It is sloped downward towards the street by about 6 inches per 10 feet.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you're making the course challenging, Tom.
I'm not about to lift the carport concrete.
I'm thinking a better course would be have an ice rink, you know, where you have a nice ice rink.
Yeah, I don't care about the slope, but I don't think this guy is gonna handle a 1/2 inch gap in the concrete.
I think that will be an interesting challenge for your gimbal motor.
Yeah.
Or for your controller, your position controller. Also, how wide is the wheel? If you get turned sideways, you may be in trouble.
Less than 1/2 inch, I think. Not much less than 1/2 inch, but
Pat, which robot are you thinking of using?
it's 11 millimeters wide, the tires.
Yeah, you may have a problem with the cracks.
I'm thinking of using my that CanBot one I worked on with the cheap $20 platform, just PT motors and 2.5 inch wheels.
So, pardon this is my advanced stage of construction, but you mean that kind of wheel?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at using, and the other option. Well, I had suggested when I visited you, we use your driveway under the carport, but we may be able to find another venue indoors with a flatter surface as well. I'm sure we can.
I don't have anything suitable inside my house.
How big is the course?
The 6-can arena is 7 feet by 10 feet, I believe.
Huh. Well, if I moved a couple pieces of furniture around, we could do it in my living room.
Rug or wood or what?
No, it's wood.
Wood. That looks like Mike's test course then.
I'm sure we can find something somewhere that offers us Wi-Fi and a spot, especially down in Southern Ontario way. I'm sure there's lots of places that'll accommodate recreational activities.
So you're saying flat surface, Wi-Fi, and a drink fridge.
Well, if we set it up as an entertainment venue, then the local seniors group may be willing, but you'll have an audience.
Well, nobody's opposed to an audience if we can get a decent area and some Wi-Fi, so we can broadcast on the day of, and if the seniors want to watch, hey, call for them. We can narrate. We can, you know.
That's where my wife runs her hybrid paint classes, so they have very good resources there.
Yeah, this is what my board is. I'm still missing a bunch of connectors, but that's the 4 RP2040s that will control everything on this robot.
So clean.
That's because the wires aren't there yet.
No, there won't be any wires sticking out anywhere. I don't do wires sticking out.
Nice, nice.
I'm not sure I like that.
That's an unfair competitive advantage, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah. No wires whistling in the wind.
Yeah, I mean there's there's wires on the bottom, but they're kind of tucked in from the motors to the motor driver boards.
I'm thinking after I'm through with my wiring job, I may get out the hot melt glue gun and glue everything down.
John, you made fast progress on that because you were just showing some early prints on the Discord server, on the Personal Robotics Discord server, late last week. So
yeah,
you're really moving along.
Yeah, I'm busy. Been busy working on it evenings and stuff. But I mean, I've got, let's see. These are my succession. This was the first base that I printed. And then I printed this one, which, is a little different. And then this one, which is even more. And then finally, this is the current version of it. Although I think I'm probably going to have to print at least one more. But it's a 6-hour print job to print one of these, which isn't too bad. I just do it overnight normally.
Micro Center would applaud your efforts there because they sell shelf after shelf of 3D filaments. So.
I get it from a place in Hamilton called 3D Printing Supplies Canada or something, or 3D Printer Supplies Canada, 3D Printing Canada. I don't know. I went there once, but I normally just order from them, and they have really good ABS filament for like $22 a kilo, Canadian. So that's what I use.
A friend of mine works there.
Yeah.
He says good things. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have to say, I've been really impressed by. I watched a couple of David Anderson's videos, and his subsumption architecture answers a couple questions that I had about how to do obstacle avoidance while still maintaining, you're aiming towards a goal, but being able to do obstacle avoidance and continue on again. And it's, I'm definitely going to be implementing that in all of my robots, including my walking ones. Speaking of the walking ones, we were talking about LiDAR. My quad walker, his head is mounted on a servo, and he's got those laser time of flight sensors, one sticking forward and a couple sticking out the side, and there's 2 more at 45s. But I use the 3 that are at right angles, and I bend the head 45 degrees, and then I just do a sweep. And that gives me I read like every degree or so, or every 2 degrees, and I get a 270 degree sweep from those 3 sensors. So it's kind of like a mini one-shot LiDAR, rotating LiDAR thing. Kind of cute.
Very clever. Okay, I have this one totally off-topic thing, just as a distraction, but now and then we have AI stuff come up, and what caught my eye today was anybody that messes around with audio files using Audacity, that little free shareware IDE for editing audio. Well, it appears that they now have plugins for with AI-enabled plugins so you can separate different components of the audio. Like not only just pull out the noise, but you can separate voice from the audio, from the music, and different instruments from the music. Haven't tried it yet, but see you, Pat. Caught my eye. So if you're interested, I thought I'd tack that on.
Yeah, my favorite go-to audio processing. I may try that.
Yeah, let me know if you have any luck with it. It sounds like fun, but I think it's just a hint of like what I reported from CES, right? Where and what someone else mentioned with the this, maybe John, was it you, with the $16 neural net processor? It's just, yeah, the compute power to run these models is just pushing out to the edge, right?
Oh yeah,
more and more. So it's neat to watch this happen. We're at a fun time.
Yeah, it's really astonishing. I mean, little things like, you know, these round, you know, 1.2 inch touch display, you know, that you can interface to any of these ARM chips, and running MicroPython, and you know, have a 240 by 240 touch screen.
Yeah.
And it just works. It's very cool.
We're plumbers.
Not resistive, capacitive, probably, right?
Yeah, that one is capacitive. I found an interesting board as well. This is a, I got this off Alley. They sell them for like $10 each. This is a STM32F405, which is the same board that the Pi board, same chip that the Pi board has, but this one has a whole lot more I/O because it's got a double row of pins there. So it of course runs MicroPython, and for $10, which is, you know, about a fifth or a sixth of the cost of a Pi board, and they work really well. I'm really impressed with them. Very happy. They give you the board files, although their board files are just a copy of the MicroPython one. So, but it gives you access to a lot more of the I/O that the chip has. That the Pi board gives you a very limited amount of I/O, and this one has a lot more. I mean, you can't breadboard it because because of the dual row of pins. But
parallel, yeah.
Yeah, it's I built a little, I 3D printed a little stand with this is one of those WaveShare 1.47 rounded. It's like 320 by 172. It's really good resolution, SPI, and so I just mounted that as basically a test platform to play around with different things when I'm trying to do things. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, $10 a piece. They're dirt cheap.
Jan, can you put the link in the chat if you've got it?
Yeah, I'll have to just a sec. Go back to Allie. Fortunately, he remembers everything you've ever ordered, so.
While you're looking, I think, Pat, someone was asking for if we were going to do this coming Saturday as hybrid. And I don't think we put the invite out there yet, but it seems to me that we should. So I think...
yeah, I can send out the email that gives the link to join on the meeting, and I'll ask for someone who's willing to be a remote participants ambassador.
There you go. Yeah. And I'll bring a tripod with my Logitech camera, which is pretty good in that room.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm doing here.
Yeah, I posted the link to that. If you want to buy some, make sure you choose the 405 variant. There's like 3 different variants that they sell. They also have another board that the same. I mean, they make a bunch of boards, and I ordered one of these as well. It was a little bit more expensive, but this is an STM32H750, which is the same chip that's on the OpenMV, the latest OpenMV board, or one of the later OpenMV boards. It also comes with a little LCD panel, which is kind of cute. And there are some people who are working on a MicroPython port for this one, so that'd be kind of neat. I'm just waiting for that to happen. But it's a very powerful. It's a much more powerful chip. It's got like a megabyte of RAM, and it runs at like 400 or 600 megahertz or something. I buy too many microcontroller boards.
I don't know if you've seen this. It's from Cypede. It's a depth camera. It's like $29. It's I'm pointing it at myself, so you're seeing it's got a little LCD in the back.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's whoops, I'm on the wrong side here.
No, that's really cool.
Let's see.
So is that is it USB only, or does it have other interfaces?
It's got a serial port, and you can. So this is a 100 by 100 pixel depth image. You can make it go down to like 25 by 25. I think
That's
the lowest.
Really awesome. Can
so
you post a link to that?
Yeah, I
or
think
at least
so. Yeah. Anyway, so that's staring at me and giving it.
What's its field of view like, Ray?
Well, let's see here.
What sort of angle?
If I can show it.
Looks like it
It's
might
probably
be
in the
about like 90
specifications. If
degrees.
I had to guess, maybe at least. Oop.
Yeah, looks like it's like 90 degrees, maybe.
It might be that big. Yeah, I thought maybe a little bit less, but it's pretty cool. The you can see the light from the the sensor on the bottom. And
So it's a structured light sensor?
Say that again?
It's a structured light distance sensor?
Yeah, it's supposed to be time of flight, but I think it puts out like a pattern of dots.
Yeah, that would be structured light.
Yeah, you can actually see it sometimes when you're holding it in front of the camera. You can see the cone of light coming off of it.
Yeah, the dots. But
that's the same. That's the same tech that the Xbox Kinect sensor uses.
Right.
Yep.
Where it displays a pattern of IR dots.
Big the Xbox Kinects were. Those things are huge.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the only downside to it is it doesn't work very well outdoors in the sunlight or anything. But that's
actually this one will go like 10 feet outside.
Yeah.
This little guy.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yep. It's a Cypede product. Let me see if I can find the link for it. I think it's a Cypede A210. Or an A10, sorry. Here's a wiki for it.
I found something neat in one of my hardware boxes a little while ago. This is one of the original MV cams, open MV cams from his very first Kickstarter. I thought that was kind of cool.
Kickstarter's habit forming, isn't it? It's a problem.
It certainly is. I have this one too, which is one of the newer ones. Well, it's not newer. This is still really old. This is an R2 or something, but it's got the LCD screen on the back, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can still get one of those for the open MVs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat sometimes. It slows it down a little bit, but.
Yeah, but for configuring and stuff.
John, the time of flight sensor that you're using, the BL53L1?
X, yeah.
X1? Okay.
L1X, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm using 3 of the 5
Yeah, those are the newer ones that have the whole thing. So the interesting thing about the L1X as well is it's very programmable, and it has what's called a region of interest, and you can actually if you leave it in its stock powered up form, it gives you it's a fairly wide cone, but you can actually change the region of interest down to a much tighter 8-degree field of view, and you can sort of move that around to different parts of the thing. So it can do some really interesting stuff with that. There's a MicroPython driver out there for it, and it gives you access to all of that stuff.
Well, my input was I have 3 of those on a single I2C bus.
Yeah.
And I sequence them like you're saying to program the I2 address. But if I want to change the I2, if I reboot the processor or something, it doesn't work because because they remember their old address or something, and your code doesn't know that they old
well,
address.
Yeah, you have to do a scan. If you're going to be rebooting your processor without without power cycling the sensor, you have to do an I2C scan to see what's out there, basically. And so, I mean, what I would do if I was doing that is after your boot up sequence, basically, you know which addresses you reassign to the sensors. So try those ones first, and if they fail, then you have to go through a power cycle thing. And regardless, you can always, if you've got a shutdown line, which I assume you do, you can always shut the sensor down and bring it back up again.
Well, the reset lines didn't seem to bring it back up. Didn't change the I2C address. So I put a power shutdown line on a regulator. So
yeah, that'll do it too.
But just to scan to see if they're at the new addresses before I try to change them again.
Yeah, and that way you handle both cases.
I didn't have to do the power sequencing. Okay. Or power reset.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and these sensors here from Ali are also really cheap. I think the 53 V1X are like 5 something Canadian for these. So I just ordered like 10 of them for $50, yeah, they're like $20 from Palalu each, so or $15 or whatever from Palalu. So I actually have a couple of. Well, I have one. You can see it there. That's one of the Palalu boards, and I just ordered another one. I actually have 5 of these in my walking robot, but I needed another one. I didn't want to take those ones off, so I ordered another one of those ones for the down-facing sensor.
Yeah, I think I got mine when I think they were in like an introductory price for a while there, and I looked on their website, and the discount code was still there, kind of advertising that,
wow,
you could use this and get it at a much, like 40% off or something, and put one in the cart, added the coupon, and it said, nope, that coupon's expired a long time ago. So it's kind of like, okay, get it off your website then.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Now they're like $18, I think.
I found something else interesting on Ali. This is a USB-C plug, like you'd see at the end of a USB cable, but it just has a couple pads there that are power and ground. So if you're trying to power something, like say on my Robo Magellan robot, I'm using this This is a Palalu voltage regulator. This is 5 volts, and if you run it at 12 volts, it'll produce like 8 amps. So I'm powering the Raspberry Pi and the Oak D and all of that stuff. I've got a powered hub, but I'm going to be using a few of these to to power the one to power the Raspberry Pi and whatnot. So make up my own little cables.
And those let you suck power out of the port without the protocol, the USB-C power distribution protocol?
Well, I'm not sucking power out. I'm putting power in.
Okay.
Right? It's like using a USB charge cable that just has the power and ground. So this is what I'm powering the Raspberry Pi with. Right? Because the Raspberry Pi 4 has a USB-C power connector on it. This it has the USB-C, and then it's got the 2 micro HDMI plugs. So you can also power it off of the pins, but I'm actually sort of thinking about putting a little 4-inch LCD on top of this. I'm not sure yet, but if I decide to do that, then I'll definitely be powering it off of this USB-C plug. And then what I'm using, I don't know if you guys have ever played with the Bioloid robots at all from Dynamixel, but they have these awesome little plugs, and they're basically a Molex plug you can get from DigiKey. They're called Spox, S-P-O-X, and you can get them in all different sizes. So like this is a 5-pin variant, but the really nice thing about them is they're polarized, so you can't plug them in backwards, and they have a very positive click. So when I take a cable and plug it in, it clicks in, and then it's held in there really strongly. You have to pull pretty hard to get them apart. So for a robot that's going to be bouncing around outside and vibrating and all that stuff, this is much better than like a standard servo connector type, just straight Molex pins with a thing that slides on. These are a much better choice for that. And you can buy the terminals, and if you have one of these things, this is a crimper I bought from DigiKey for like $30 or something. You can actually make up your own cables with the terminals on them, and make your own cables whatever length. I've got Amazon, it turns out, sells silicone wire in lots of different colors and stuff that's really like flexible and nice. So I have lots of that for making cables and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been gathering robot tools for 20 years. So
it's fun. Tool collecting and microprocess start collecting hand in hand, don't they?
Oh yeah, they certainly do.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a whole box over there full of old tech microcontrollers, old picks and basic stamps and things like that I would never ever touch with a 10-foot pole again. But
gotta have an 8051 in there then, right?
No, I never got into those.
Oh really?
No.
No, I was doing picks, and then I switched to AVRs, and then I switched to ARMs, and I've never looked back.
So Ray, his hair is not as gray as ours.
Well, I mean, my first computer was an Apple IIc, which had a 6502 in it. But yeah.
At least you didn't have to do the toggle switches to put the bootloader in place.
No,
No,
it had an actual floppy drive built in. 143K.
Yeah.
Did you guys see I don't know if I showed you this. I might have forgotten to show you this. This is my wireless failsafe.
No.
So this is actually kind of cool. I did this as the first part of my Robo Magellan robot. Let me just go back here, and I do a lot of CAD stuff, as you can probably see. So this one is the first version here. Everybody can see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a 3D printed case. It has a Adafruit makes this. It's an RP2040 board, which I have one on my Robo Magellan bot here, just sitting here. That has a an RF transceiver on it.
Laura.
Well, I'll show it to you after I'm sharing my screen. So inside, so this has one of these in it, which has this. It's an RFM 69 or something. It's a 916 or 915 megahertz RF transceiver and an RP2040, and I'm running CircuitPython because they have a really nice driver for that RF board that's built onto it. And so there's a push button that goes into here, one of those little 0.91 OLED LCD panels on the top, power switch on the bottom, and a USB plug for charging, because there's a 1S LiPo 620 milliamps underneath this board that goes in this little spot down there. And then there's a push button right here that I can use. So let me go back and stop sharing and switch back to video. So when I power this on, it comes up, and is that the right way around? I can't tell. Yeah, it's this way. Doesn't focus very well on this stuff. Anyway, it says mode RC and the battery. And so the idea is you can switch between RC and autonomous mode. And so I push this button and it switches to stopped mode, because of course I'm not pushing the trigger. And as soon as I push the trigger, it switches to autonomous mode. And you can sort of, even if you can't read it, you can see it changing there. And the idea is I'm basically running code on the RP2040 in here that's streaming at 10 hertz over that RF transceiver link. And it's just basically sending a string packet each time. The mode is either RC or stopped or autonomous. And I think at 1 hertz I stream the battery level. So basically, you know, it's the failsafe for the Robo Magellan robot. And then I have the same board. This is the RP2040 with the RF transceiver board, the green board on the back. It's one of their feather boards. And it's really nice because it not only has the radio transceiver on it, it also has one of these little battery jacks for plugging in a 1-cell LiPo. And it handles, if you plug in USB, it actually handles charging the LiPo with that. And so that's what I've got here. There's a USB extension cable that I've got that goes around and plugs into the front of the board, and I can charge the LiPo from that, and I display the battery voltage on here so I can see where it is, so I don't end up running out of battery halfway through a mission or whatever. So yeah, I tend to overdo things a little bit.
That's a pretty fancy button right there.
It's a well, I have another one here because I have a different version of this that I'm working on. So this button is, I think I've got it screwed in place. So yeah, it's basically just a big push button that I bought. I ended up buying 2 of them, so I have 2 of them. And it turns out that if you put a trigger on a pivot, it pushes and comes back all by itself.
Look at that.
So I don't even need a spring. The spring built into the button. And then, like I said, I have the mode button up here, so I can switch if I want to switch the robot to work with my RC transmitter, because it's fundamentally an RC vehicle. I can do that, and then I can just switch it back, and I'm in autonomous mode. And hold the trigger, and then just let it go. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
So professional.
It's let me get my little bit here. I'll take the cover off. It's kind of cute. Oops, wrong bit. I have this neat little powered screwdriver that I got from another Kickstarter from Aeromax.
I did that. Yeah. And they have a drill and they have a grinder too.
Yeah, I have all three of them, and the drill and grinder kind of suck, but this thing is awesome. It does such a good job at little screws. Like these are M2 screws. And, you know, like everything else that I make it to be taken apart. So it's all held together with machine screws. And because I print in ABS, I can just tap the holes with a tap and a drill.
What? No hot glue?
I don't use hot glue ever on any of my robots for any reason. Okay, now all these screws are going to fall out here, so put it somewhere so they don't get lost. So yeah, this is what the inside looks like. I mean, it's a bit of a mess because it's got wires running around and stuff, but so it's got the processor, the batteries underneath. You can see it's plugged in there, but the battery goes through. There's another plug for the battery, and then it goes through the power switch here. And I couldn't get the antenna to fit inside the little duck antenna thing. So I ended up, instead of reprinting the main part again and doing it, I just reprinted the cover and put the antenna sort of screwed into the cover. So it works pretty well.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I have another version because this screen is okay, but it's a monochrome LCD, and it's not, you know, it's kind of weird. Get these little wing things sticking out on the sides and stuff because the screen's so wide. It turns out Waveshare has this new LCD that they're selling, a module with the driver that is this size. And this is a 65K 65K color, 128 by 128 SPI display. And I've almost got it working. I've got a driver for MicroPython, but it messes up on like one side and the bottom a little bit, a couple pixels sometimes. So I'm just working on that, trying to figure out how I can get that to look better. And then I have a new version of the handle with the head that's a little nicer, and then I can actually have a color screen on it and stuff, which it'd be kind of cool. Because why not?
Get some animation going.
You and Ray both have these micro displays that you must have microscopes in your eyeballs to read the text on those things.
Yeah. But yeah, I posted a link to my blog there in the chat. It's just called John's page, John's.page. And I've started posting some of this stuff on it, including a description of how I built this and whatnot.
Very nice.
Kind of an interesting story there. I had my yearly physical, and before I had that, I went to our, we get our eye exams around the same time each year. And I like these frames, but I wanted to get, the new lenses because I hadn't gotten lenses in like 5 years or so. And so I go into the doctor's office, and, at my age now, they give you the dementia test. And, one of them is to give you like a name and address, and then they, ask you to memorize that. And then they talk about something else, and then shortly afterwards ask you, to basically regurgitate what, the name and address was. And the second part of that was gives me a piece of paper with a circle on it and tells me to draw a clock face on it. I could barely understand this woman. I think she may have had like a South African accent, but it was just like, I had to ask her several times to, I just say, I'm sorry, I can't understand you. You're going to have to repeat that. And anyway, so she didn't tell me that I was supposed to set the hands to 10:30. She just said draw a clock face. So I thought, okay, well, I can make any time I want, on the clock face. And I didn't have these glasses yet, so I was, was like really having a hard time with the other glasses to see it, and I didn't read the instructions. Anyway, I was supposed to draw it at 10:30 and drew it like at 4 o'clock, and the physician comes back in. He goes, "Well, I'm a little concerned about your dementia test here. The instructions said to draw, put the hands at 10:30, and it looks like you put them at 4 o'clock." And I tried to explain to him that, okay, she didn't explain that, and I don't have my good glasses, so.
It's a good thing they don't give that test to kids. Half of them have never seen an analog clock.
Yeah. So.
There's an awesome video of millennials or whatever, the young generation being shown a dial phone, a rotary phone, and they try and figure out how to use it, and they just have absolutely no clue how to dial a number on a rotary phone. It's really funny.
Yeah, thank God for touch-tone phones. It was a whole lot faster,
So the maybe the lesson for this is that if any of us get that test, we should toy with them and then draw the clock. But then when they question, we should say, "Well, this is a 24-hour clock. What did you want?"
That's right. Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I'm concerned about your dementia test.
That's funny. You're the second person I've heard that's taken that test where you have to remember something through the course of an interchange. And my other friend sort of like couldn't remember the first part, and wasn't really aware that they had to like remember it. And so their wife was like giving them hints. A birthday, someone Actually guessed it, and then the nurse said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, real effective test, right?
I do terrible at memory tests like that.
I had a friend of mine a few years ago. He still doesn't know what happened to him. All I know is at 4 o'clock in the morning, she wasn't, in the bed sleeping, so she went out and found him. There was a big limb beside him. He was knocked out on the ground, and there was a running chainsaw. And I'm like, she goes, "I don't know what happened. He can't tell me." So they thought that he had something, so they gave him a bunch of medication for his heart. So he didn't have any of that, but because of the meds they fed into him, they had to keep him in ICU for a while because it was blood thinners and all these other kind of things that can go south really fast. And so somebody came in and administered some very similar tests to these guys, and he was there and he's like, "Okay, what's your name? Who's the president of the United States?" And he's like, "Some a-hole." And he's like, "Well, that's kind of weird." The wife's like, "No, that's what he believes. Doesn't matter who's in the office. They're all a-holes." It's pretty funny. Yeah, that's how some people are. They just that way.
I guess the nurses probably have to get ready for that.
Yeah,
expect it, especially for the younger age of the older crowd.
Well, feels like we're running out of steam here.
Same here.
Yep.
So awesome. We have a meeting on Saturday. It'll be a hybrid meeting from, I guess, 11:30 to 4. But the first bit, I think we're talking about pizza, if I remember. But yep. And then so Harold, just let me know if he gets